Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. This is episode 3 of LS swapping our Crown Victoria. In this episode, we are working on the fuel system and getting hopefully pretty close to first start on this thing. All right, so we have a box of fuel system parts from Evil Energy. We have a couple rolls of 6AN PTFE fuel hose. We have a Quantum 340 liter per hour pump that is going to be going into the stock tank. Here is the installation kit for it. And like I said, we've got a bunch of AN fittings. We've got a fuel filter to go in here, a 10 micron fuel filter. And we've got, as far as fuel system up here, Trailblazer SS intake that I did some modifying to fit earlier Gen 3 return style rails on it. We have a set of 50-pound injectors in here. And I'm still waiting for a couple fittings, but we are converting the stock Quick Connect lines to AN. So I'm not going to waste much time, so I am going to start getting the fuel hose, and we're going to start roughly running it back to the tank and figure out how to route it. All right, short 8mm and our drill. Also, we're going to need some wire cutters. Alright, so we are working on pulling the fuel hanger out. We already got you can see it up in here. Got our Quick Connect fuel line popped off. We have our one wire connector disconnected from the one that goes, you can see it up there. And there are a couple wires here, if you can see them. They run over and up on top of the tank, and it's very much of a pain to pull that loose up there. So what I'm going to do is simply cut these wires, and then we'll just reconnect them once we're done. So now we're working on pulling out the 8mm. See there, the 8mm screws here. There is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, I think. See how much dirt we can drop into our faces. And there's one here that requires a short socket. Alright, now we're going to work on pulling this thing out. Alright, now pulling this assembly out, I did it once before. I was replacing a fuel pump, and it's definitely a pain. So we'll see how this goes. Oh, we still have a screw in there. So what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws, not 5. And don't gas myself like that. All right. All right, put it out. Now let's see. Oh, nice. Trying to avoid getting doused with gas here. Okay, let's drop that down. Come out there. Hey, that combination right off the bat. All right. Hey, hey. All right, that was not bad at all. Oh, my gas. All right. All right, and there is our hanger assembly. All right, so now that we have the hanger assembly out, a couple things I've noticed. The first being the main feed line, the quick connect line here, is thankfully 3/8. I was afraid it was going to be 5/16 because that's what the fuel line was going up to the engine, but thankfully it's 3/8. So what we can do is simply use a 3/8 quick connect to AN fitting, which simply slips over like that. This part slips on over like that. Get it right here. And simply screws on like that. And that's all we need to do for the feed line, and then just our 6AN line goes to that. 03 on Crown Vics are returnless fuel systems. So what we're going to have to do is drill a hole here in the top of the hat, and we'll put a, if you have a 6AN bulkhead fitting, probably is going to work the best. I have a 6AN to NPT, so I'm going to try to make this work. So yeah, we'll just put a hole in here, and then the return will simply go to that. Otherwise, it should be pretty simple, which is simply swapping this pump out for our 340 pump. Alright, so we've got a 7mm screw here, clamp that holds the pump. Let's see, we have screws here. All right, the old pump's off just like that. So side by side of the two, they look almost exactly the same size. A little bit different wiring connector. Now, one thing we are going to have to do, the wiring connector on the top is different. Find it here. It comes with a new pigtail. So we will pull wires out of here. And then we'll probably end up cutting them off and splicing that into there. So I have to change a little bit there, but that shouldn't be bad. So it comes with two different pickup screens. I'll be honest, I'm not sure what the difference is. One's a little bigger. I guess I don't know if it really matters then. So it pops on, let's see, just like that. And then it comes with tiny little clip. Holds it onto there. Of fuel line designed to be submersible. So figure out what length here. That on. A little bit long still. Okay. Let's put some silicone inside of there to lube it up. Or some 40. For the pump, we need to decide what sleeves to use here. And I should have put that on first. Alright. Alright, moral of the story. Put the sleeve on, then the pickup sock. Slips to here. Twist it on. Far enough. Right, so a slight change of plans here. It took a little bit of fiddling in order to get the pump fitting where I want. However, I think I'm actually going to reuse the old pickup sock versus this one. And the reason being is when you turn the pump so that the wiring connector is at the top, and hopefully that'll fit. Maybe we'll need to adjust it just a little bit. This is turned to the where this does not fit right anymore. And you could trim this, but I think just reusing the old one is going to work perfectly and still clear everything fine. So I think that's what we're going to do. I think we can reuse our clamp down here. So we're going to put this clamp back on and then get our little clamps tightened for this piece of hose here, and then work on the wiring here. Alright, so I went ahead and cut off the ends of the wires there. Strip these. Then we're going to cut, let's see, 16 to 22. Alright, have our lengths there. Alright, so black to ground. Back there. Alright, got those spliced in. Get our heat gun. Alright. Alright, so I think that takes care of the wiring, takes care of the pump. It's a little bit of a tight squeeze with the rubber isolator here, but we did get it tightened down, got the sock on. So now what's left to do is to drill our hole for our return. Alright, so we ended up drilling a hole in here. I ran up to the local hardware and found a couple pieces to make this fitting work. If you're doing this, I would suggest just get a conventional 6AN bulkhead fitting. It'll make your job a little easier. But we ended up finding a NPT coupler that fit on the threads. Did a rubber washer, metal washer, and then that. So hopefully it won't leak. If it leaks, we'll pull it apart and replace it with something else. So now that we've got this all ready, I am going to go ahead and throw it back in the car. Alright, so we finally have our fuel system wrapped up, so I'm going to hop under the car and show you how I routed all the lines. We've got a fuel filter in line, and we've got everything plumbed up and wired up. So, at the front here, let me turn our light on. Hooking into the stock fuel rails, we have quick connect fittings going to the stock rails, and 6AN for our feed and return lines. So we got those hooked up. Then gonna hop under the car here, do my best to show you how we routed stuff. So our lines, let's see here, come back here. So our lines run up to the engine there. And then we ran them along here, back along the frame, and we just zip tied them in place all the way back. We put a 10 micron, sorry, get the light better, 10 micron filter right there. We put a couple of 1/4-inch riv nuts into the frame and mounted the filter there. So it runs from there back, and then here it's going to get a little hard to see, but there is this, let's see here, this cover there. So it runs, the feed and return lines run up in, behind there, and then they exit. Let's see. Okay, so there is our sending unit, and that is the return line there. And then let me get a better shot of our, kind of see, is our feed line down to there and into the sending unit. So then as far as the wiring, the stock wiring that comes down through the trunk area is hooked into there. I'd made some mistakes when I was doing my wiring there, and I'll pop into the trunk area and show it. But as far as the wiring that goes down to the sending unit from here, leave that all factory. That way it stays up nice and sealed, and it goes up into the trunk. And then I'll show you where I tied in there. So, sorry, if I had a lift, this would be much easier to show you, but nothing fancy at all. Just a matter of running your feed and return lines, getting everything zip tied nice up out of the place so it doesn't get caught on anything, and that's pretty much it for down here. All right, so in the trunk area, let me pull the carpet up out of the way. The stock wiring comes up through the trunk right there. So then all we have to do here, so we have it just needs a ground wire. So I just found the 2 wires that go into the sending unit. It is let's see if I can tell the colors. It is a black and white one and a red with a black stripe there. Are the only 2 wires that we need to tie in to power the fuel pump. So for the black and white wire, I just have it ran to a ground. You can decide to ground that wherever you want. And then the red and black wire is the power wire. So I simply found those wires, spliced them into the factory harness there. And then the other wires still stay in place for the fuel level sensor, so that does still work. So I routed the wire along there, and then for the LS harness, it has a wire that we ran back along the inside of the car here. See the fuel pump wire, and so then we just spliced it there and ran it back to the trunk. And then that powers our fuel pump. Originally, the Crown Vic had a fuel pump driver module, which I believe was this one here. So we are just completely bypassing that. We're not using that because that does not supply enough fuel pressure for the LS, because the LS requires about 58 pounds of fuel pressure. So as far as wiring, that's all there is. So it is nothing fancy or complicated there. And so I've already primed it. We don't seem to have any leaks, so we're all good there. And we've made a fair bit of progress since doing the fuel system. However, I'm going to save that for the next video, because in the next video, you guys are going to hear this thing run, because it does, in fact, run. So, that is going to be it for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you in the next one.